Welcome to the Marneverse, where we're going to be talking about things that are going on and giving our spin on it. I've got our Gaz and our Will, and today we're going to be talking about Adolescence, the Netflix programme. No, wait a minute, I don't think it's on Netflix, I think it's on ITV X or something series. You've not seen it, have you?
It's on Netflix. So I'm not very well positioned to talk about this.
You are. I think it's a good thing that we can get your spin on it, and I'll kind of give you mine. Will, have you seen it?
Yes-ish.
What does that mean, yes-ish?
I skipped the last episode quickly.
Okay. I mean, the last episode, to me, I got a little bit... I was a bit bored at a point because I was looking for the resolution. Maybe it goes to court and stuff like that, but it never happened, and you're just left with this sinking feeling of, fucking hell, how am I going to unravel this?
Is that not a season 2?
No. There's no season 2 on this. It's a story, really, about toxic masculinity. And what's going on at the minute. Obviously, we talk about identity and stuff like that. So the story's about this young lad who's only 12 and he stabs a girl to death. Mm-hmm. And it sort of like plays out that he's spending most of the time on TikTok, obviously watching people like Andrew Tate, watching other people, you know, you talk about heroes, you know, who is your sort of like modern day hero, and this kid's modern day hero are just people on TikTok. You know, Andrew Tate talking about sort of almost degrading women a little bit.
What, and it physically names these people?
Doesn't physically name them, but you know that's who they're sort of alluding to when the program's
they're avatars going. Of these people that actually exist.
So Stephen Graham, amazing actor, been in Pirates of the Caribbean. What else has he been in, Will?
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, what else has he been in? Do you know what I mean, Stephen Graham?
Well, I mean, if he's been Pirates of the Caribbean, as soon as you show it me, I'll just spell it wrong.
He's been in loads. There's another series called Taboo with Tom Hardy, and that was really good.
Snatch. It's a big one. This is England. Venom.
Does he spring to mind when you see him?
Who's he playing Pirates of the Caribbean?
Just like one of
I don't
Jack Sparrow's crew.
I don't think it's a big role, to be completely honest.
Anyway, he's wrote it. The cinematography in it's absolutely insane. It's so good. Everything's kind of a one-shot scenario. It's so good.
It's just a basic pirate, isn't it?
Oh! Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking hell. You'd have to be a fanatic to know that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So the idea is that he's this lad's dad who stabbed him, and he's sort of
his
like...
dad stabs him?
No. The idea that the lad who stabbed the girl, his dad, sort of puts blame on himself that he's not seen these coming. Right. But then he starts analysing his own life where his dad was really abusive to him. So he said, look, with this lad, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and nurture him as best I can. Yeah. So there's a scene in it where he was sort of recalling the lad playing football, and he wasn't playing, he was a bit shit. So other people were laughing at him. But so he kind of sort of like didn't want to say anything, but like kind of turned and ignored him and totally. So that sort of played into this kid's identity, and this is how it sort of like plays out. This, if you've not got heroes and role models in your life who are not giving you the values that you should, you're turning to social media.
Right. Okay.
And if you've got a shy lad and you want to go and talk to girls, and these girls are rejecting you, then you're listening to Andrew Tate going, these were da-da-da-da. So you get that identity, and this is what this lad's doing. He's trying to get this girl and stuff. She's rejecting him, making him a bit of a fool of him, telling other people, and he's just kind of almost got in his head that this girl's not good enough. She's like... So he just like ends up stabbing her. The lad's just got so much anger and resentment towards life because he's not got these amazing role models in his life. It's such a powerful thing, mate, because you kind of keep playing it on, and you kind of like in your head you're thinking, fucking hell, how many kids out there must be doing this? You know, me and you talk about our heroes, and I talk about my heroes grow up. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of glad social media wasn't around when I was there, because my heroes were Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Superman, Batman, who have got these strong values and identity. If social media around, I'd be like, fucking hell, look at that person. I fucking kind of want to be like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Where essentially your identity is just copy and pasted from a multitude of different places, isn't it? You just take a little bit, oh, that's pretty cool, pretty cool, I guess. But obviously it's taken from, or more parts of it are taken from specific places, i.e., I guess, if you've got a good father relationship, you know, you get a lot from there. Not necessarily good, you know, it could be bad as well, you get, you know, from there, or you have these role models and stuff. But yeah, social media is just a shitstorm, isn't it? I think I just see the content that's on there, and it's just, I think it's great in a sense that, like, it gives everybody a voice, because you argue certainly when you grew up, when I was growing up, it was controlled mainly by media, wasn't it? You know, and essentially that probably came down to a handful of people who decided what we saw. You know, so I always sort of yo-yo between this opinion of going, is that good or is it bad?
Yeah. Because
you give almost freedom of speech or the exposure to these people now that you get on TikTok or YouTube and all the rest of it. And for some instances, it's great that it's unregulated, because you could argue you get more authenticity. You get to see basically everything.
Yeah.
And it's not censored, or it's not curated by said handful of people. But again, the flip side of that is that everybody gets a podium, don't they? And anyone can rise to the top, and they're not regulated. So they can put out whatever they want to put out there.
Yeah. I'm just arguing that some of these people are rising to the top and not got very good values.
Well, that's exactly my point. Yeah,
these kids are looking at them thinking, "Oh God, that person's got loads of money. That person's got all this. I want to be like that." But it's shaping them into somebody that they're not, and you end up doing things that are just so out of your character. It's just like, it's so scary. If you do watch it and you come to it, mate. The thing is, I know you've got a little on the way. I know that little and solid, right? Because your values and your ethics mint, right? And you know that if they do go on to Andrew Tate, have a look at that. But I'm also going to give you another way of looking at things, which I think is going to be better for you. And I think there's a lot of kids out there that have not got that. I mean, it's not just kids; it's men as well. I think there's a toxic masculinity thing going on, where ego comes into shit, and I'm just like, there's another way.
Well, I know you're talking specifically about that subject within the series, but I think there's fucking so many other different issues out there, isn't there? There's just everything you find online, and like you say, I don't know how you answer it, where you draw the line on it, you know, because like I say, after the people you see out there, you go, what a fucking idiot this person is. Yeah. But on the flip side of it, you know, you probably felt that way as well about the people who were being put in these positions, you know. Well, look at that. Look at all the nominated people through the media. Yeah. How many of them come out recently being in these bloody paedophile rings and all the rest of it, you know. Yeah. I guess the interesting question is like, you know, at what point does a normal person stop becoming a normal person and starts thirsting after things that are what we consider strange and weird, I guess, you know. Yeah. It's like that thing is they always talk about, it's like that film Hostel. It's like you get these people who are like fucking mega rich because they they're paying to like torture people, you know what I mean? Yeah, no morals or ethics or anything. I guess the thing is they consider themselves above the natural order of things, don't they? You know, and it's just like, well, I don't have to adhere to the laws of everyone else because I've got money or power or all the rest of it. You know? What do you think the thing is? What's the fixation of money for people? Why do you think it's such a fixation for people? What, that person's got loads of money, I want to be like that. This is where I think people get it wrong, you know. And I think money's important. It's a tool, you know, but people are tied down within materialism with it, aren't they? You know, and their identity, like you said before, is attached to the things that they own. You know, because you know, and it is driven by society, I guess, you know, and essentially, I don't know if it's on a government level or whatever it is, but to make more money for, you know, if I buy a bigger house, and guess what, I got to pay more stamp duty on it, and I got to buy a bigger car, then, you know, I pay more tax on that, and all goes round, I guess, that probably just on the manufacturer level, maybe not on the government level, but, you know, so if I'm making a car, and I can ultimately charge more for it, then why the fuck wouldn't I do it, you know? And that's why a lot of people generally, when they're setting business up, they want to be up at a premium end of a brand space, don't they? Because ultimately they can charge more for the same amount of work, you know, more profits and all the rest of it. But yeah, anyways, sidetracking there. I think going back to the point about the relationship with money is, you know, it's centered materialism, you know. If I have this fancy Lamborghini and I have a mansion, all the rest of it, that makes me a better person. It doesn't, does it? No, it just makes you rich. Whereas essentially, I think the people who truly understand the value of money are the ones who use it to buy freedom of time. You know, because that's the real.
Yeah, it's a mint way of putting it, mate.
You know, that's the real. And that's the most. You've probably heard it a million times before, and it's a little cliche at this point, but the most precious, you know, resource on the planet is time, isn't it? You know, because no matter how much money you've got, when your time's up, and that's it, isn't it? There's nothing you can do about it. Look at Steve Jobs. You know, arguably at the time was in charge of one of the most successful companies on the planet. His time was just up, and no amount of money and success and everything else he'd built could buy him any more of that, could they? You know, and obviously it's something that you probably think about more reflectively, like you say, as getting to a key point in my life of welcoming a child, and it's like anything, isn't it? You know, water. I go buy a bottle of water from the shop now for 50p, you know, whatever it'd cost me. But it's everywhere, so there's no demand for it, realistically. There's a slight demand for it, but not loads of demand for it. If I go to a club in Ibiza, it costs me £20 for a bottle of water. Or if I'm up the top of the mountain and I desperately need water, it's probably going to cost me a similar amount. Supply and demand tension, isn't it? You know, and that's the same with time as it moves through. The less you've got of it, the more valuable it becomes. You know, I feel like when you're in your teens and 20s and you get to that point of where you're building these identities and realising that autonomy of self, you know, you've got all this time ahead of you, or you assume you do, because you just go off the averages, don't you? Oh, well, yeah. I wonder what's the worst in the world it's got to be.
Yeah, what is the worst average life expectancy in the world? Chad, Nigeria.
All right. Yeah, I thought it'd be out there somewhere.
Wow.
53.
Reaching only 53. Yeah. Wow.
Wait.
Mental.
Oh, right.
Coming back to the sort of like identity crisis that people have. Obviously, you know, I talk to a lot of people in my meetings and stuff, and I can see that they're out of kilter, they're out of line. They've never asked the question, who am I? How can kids do that, do you think? I mean, it needs to be in schools for me. Teaching identity and who am I, what you said before, the sense of self.
It just
but it's not sexy, is it? That's the only thing.
I mean, it's not. It's the unenjoyable process to a point as well, isn't it, when you're doing it like anything, I guess. I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff to ask yourself them questions, you know, right now in, you know, well, certainly toward the end of your 40s and definitely in, you're still only 50. Yeah, so well, going into your 50s was a big thing for you, wasn't it? I feel like you see the people I think were the best characters are the ones who've dealt with the most shit in their lives, you know. Yeah. And again, maybe another cliche sort of like, let's start my own t-shirt brand up here and put these in the front of it. It's like adversity builds character, doesn't it? And I think the people who get thrust into positions where they need to, where they're challenged with these things, not necessarily sitting there to ask themselves the questions, you know. Yeah. But when they get forced in these positions of...
A bit like Luke, you know, we're talking about the hero's journey where he's had that call to adventure from Obi-Wan and he's gone right round to become the Jedi that it is to kind of surrender to it. It's that into that call to adventure, that adversity thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting you say it though, is because, you know, it's something I ask myself now and like... I don't know where that comes from. You know, you maybe have done more thought on this than I have, but you know, however you develop that moral compass, you know, ultimately, because generally speaking, you see it is, like you were saying about the guy in the show, is the father doesn't seem to want to be too overbearing on the son because he doesn't want to like sort of strangle his growth, if you would.
Yeah. Well, he's gone too far that way.
Yeah,
and
not being nurturing
and asking the questions, what you're watching, you know. Because they're seeing this kid, he's on, you know, his light's on under his door and he's there at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's all he's doing. He's just consuming content.
Yeah.
You know, the stats are, what are the stats for kids on phones these days? 8 hours or something, isn't it?
The average screen time.
Average screen time, which is crazy, isn't it?
13 years.
Yeah, 13's pretty nil, doesn't it? Yeah, 8 hours.
Oh, look at me.
That's been awake.
7.7 hours a day.
Imagine what they'd do at a weekend then, because that's non-school.
Yeah, non-school. Well, that's non-school screen time. So literally,
as soon as you get up.
Yeah, from every, because we'll think about it. You slice your day up. You've got 8 hours at school or work. You've got 8 hours sleeping, and you've got 8 hours for yourself. Haven't you? It's essentially it breaks down. So 7.7 hours that, and the only time they're probably stopping is to go and have a shit or eat something.
and I'm being constantly told in them 7.7 hours that I'm probably not good enough because I've not got all these things, and I'm sat there. Yay or nay?
Again, this is what I was touching on before. I think it depends on the individual, but I don't know how you build that resilience to it, you know.
But on a sort of scale, percentage, how many people do you think have got that moral compass to have no clue what a moral compass is as you're a kid? Some people like you, mate, you've always had that moral compass. It's just entwined in you.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting question for me is how do you get there? Because I couldn't undress it, you know, and go, this is like a key thing that I went through. The only thing I pull it back to, and I think I talked about this on my podcast with you, was about when I was young. You know, I was tiny growing up, you know, and I used to like playing football and all the rest of it. And obviously I don't know if it's toxic masculinity, but it's always like, you know, when you're a lad, like thing is everything's very competitive. You want to be the biggest, the strongest, you know, all the rest of it. It's quite physical, isn't it? You know, it's based on physical attributes, I guess. Which seemingly for me at the time, like I said, my mum was going to get me growth hormones, I think. She kept going to the doctors because I wasn't growing. So seemingly that was going to be the case for me. So I remember just having the thing of like going, you know, even on a football level, I was like, well, I'd get fucking smashed. Someone come to physically shoulder to shoulder me, I could not compete. You know, and then I sort of like, well, I've got two options really, haven't I? Either figure out what I am good at, what I can leverage, or I pack in playing altogether. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, I don't want to pack in playing. So
that's the difference, you see. I don't know what that percentage of people going, right, okay, I'm going to figure out what I'm good at, I'm going to get through that adversity builds character.
Jonah Hill are at school the first time and they don't get along. Like, he's the jock, he's the nerd, he's the coolest guy at school, right? And the nerd is just like the outcast, the outsider, right? And then they go back to school in the modern day, and the nerdy guy who's into all these things is the cool kid now.
Yeah,
and
the dynamics have shifted.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it used to be like. Is in thinking of me when you school, it's like it was cool to be stupid. Essentially, you know, it was cool to skip classes or smoke or all the rest of it. I never really understood it. It was never something I did, you know, because I don't know. I maybe just thought about it. I was like, you know, but I don't know if it's the other way now. You know, if you go off that, what they build the film around, it's
I think it is. I wouldn't say it's completely the other way in terms of that. It's cool to be clever, but there's not this stigma of you're a geek or a nerd. I don't think. Like when I was at school, you know, essentially like my group of friends was just a complete mix. Like we had some that didn't really excel in anything, you know, some that haven't really even passed GCSEs to this day. But then, you know, on the same side of it, we had people who got all A's, A stars, because when it came to outside of that classroom, it wasn't really like, you know, in these American films, you get the nerds going to the library or whatever, and lunchtime, and they just want to, you know, revise. But I think it's almost like people had a side of them where they can crack on and get their head down and get stuck in and really get the good grades. But then once that bell goes, you know, they can chill out and relax and do what everyone else does, play footy or what have you, you know. So I think, I wouldn't say it's a complete switch like 22 Jump Street or 21 Jump Street, but it is interesting how they did it, you know. Because again, American culture is different to the British, isn't it? So
yeah, it always is, isn't it? But there's similarities, isn't there? And that's the point. It's like, you know, I'd probably describe myself as a bit of an in-betweener. You know, when I was at school, definitely wasn't one of the cool kids, and I was into a lot of nerdy
So both your schools, did you have like groups like because at mine there were none of that.
Oh yeah, you went to
boarding school, which is like total. So when people go to me, oh, that was emos, or that was like, what's it? Town. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What even is that? There was no groups at mine.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, anyways, when I was at school, it was like your popular kids, or the ones who were, you know, the cool kids, that end of it, or trying to be the cool kids anyways, were like the chavs, or the townies, whatever you'd call them, wearing the tracksuits and the Nike TNs and the TN hats and all the rest of it. There was on the other side of the scale was like the moshers, you know, who were a little more akin to, you know, so if the top end here is like the jock, you know, like Channing Tatum, the other end here would be more like Jonah Hill is in the film, so a little bit more conscious about life. Do you know, but these are the kids I feel like were quite intelligent, you know, were thinking about things in depth, you know. A lot of them was into the music and stuff. And even I wasn't at that level then. I was just sort of like, you know, oh, this sounds cool, I'll listen to it, or whatever it was. And I was somewhere in the middle, and I had a group of friends who were sort of like that, where, you know, we played football. You know, we knew some of the people who would, you know, like, we classed the cool kids who were on the football team were good at that. But I was also in good sets, not the best sets, but I was in good sets. You know what I mean? So I was also like valued the education. Don't want to go too far to the extremes, I guess, you know.
How can you tell if somebody's suffering? How can you tell if like some lad is like is susceptible to outside influences so much. Could you both tell in like school if there was somebody who was like that, who were putting on a front, or that introvert that was sat in the corner? What, you know what I mean? Because this lad within the family said, which I thought was really interesting, you know, it wasn't just him with a single parent. He had both parents, you know, with the potential, you know, loving, and then a sister who like loved him to bits and stuff. But he was still susceptible to information, to kind of go in, I'm not kind of good enough. The anger in him, mate, honestly, he was so angry inside. Yeah. The actor who played him, I don't know who it was, but like it was amazing. You could just feel this like raw emotion of, he didn't know how to. It was like his dad was so emotionally unaware of his own thing that the lad was like that as well. He was just not in control of his emotions at all.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think, again, you know,
I think it was his first role. That.
What was it?
It's his first ever role.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Next level.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to cast your mind back. I mean, you always knew people had, I guess, certain circumstances, you know. But I think at that age, people aren't fucking good at communicating at my age. Never mind at 13, 14, when you're trying to figure all this shit out, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know fucking people in their 40s and fucking 50s and they don't know how to fucking communicate.
Yeah,
They're so, I can't think of the word, but emotionally unavailable, I think is the word I'm looking for. I'm just like, mate, come on, like, let's connect on a level. And they don't know how to do it. It's fucking hell.
At 13 though, is that on the parents? Would you say?
Don't know, Will. It's just, look.
I feel like at that age you do know, obviously, that, you know, murder is wrong. But then I also think, you know, it must be on the parents. Because, you know, I think even if you are a 13-year-old that isn't a murderer or a psycho, you're not really a massive communicator anyway, you know, at that age, especially in these days. But then, is that on the parents to bring it out of you and consistently ask how you are and what you're doing and what you're up to, and do you want to do this, do you want to do that?
It's got to be on it. It can't be anybody else, I guess. I mean, you know, teachers as well have got to be sort of like open up to this and, you know, kind of talking and communicating. I truly believe if that, you know, he's not a real person, but I'm sure this happens, but if somebody talks to that kid on a level and cried with him and got angry with him and, you know, just saying it's all right to have all these emotions, mate.
Like the, was she a psychologist?
Yeah.
That scene, well, it's episode 2.
Yeah, like that.
Because he lashed out a couple of times there, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was also a bit of a psychopath.
Well, this is it. I think that it's essentially it's taken on the. When you think, I'm trying to cast my mind back now when you were saying about it to a time without social media, but this stuff was happening back in the day, and they were. Do you remember you put them in this world? Because I think we chatted about it the other day. It was blaming video games for it. You know, Manhunt was one that got banned. I mean, Rockstar, who make Grand Theft Auto, made a game called Manhunt, and it was just like fucking like GTA. Obviously, even back then was still a bit cartoony-esque, you know, you could say that's not thingy. This is a bit more graphic. You would have people strangling people with plastic bags.
Yeah, I forgot about that, to be honest. Yeah,
and it got banned. But then, there was loads of stuff going on at the time. I think I heard a few things at the time. It's like, and they were trying to peg it on video games, it's not like regulated properly and all this. And I was like, it's like films as well, though, isn't it? Yeah. You know, you go. I think like what Will said is like, I agree there should be probably some jurisdiction from the parents to go, you shouldn't be consuming this. But at the end of the day, you should also know that, well, in terms of, I know it's more difficult in TikTok and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
They should know it's fiction, you know, when you come into a video game or a thing. And that's the interesting thing thinking about that is when you talk about characters and all the rest of it, and these people on social media, it's got to a point where they've figured out now is like they are just a character. you know. It'd be interesting to meet the individual behind it, because like I've said before, is I think there'll be similarities, but I think as soon as that light comes on the camera or the things that's recorded,
an embellishment of
dialed up 100%, you know.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
And that's what they are, aren't they? These characters, you know. Some of the stuff you see out there these days, and the content people are putting out there, it's just nonsense. And I refuse to believe that these people are that idiotic that they think, you know, if they was being genuine as a character, they'd be like, oh yeah, this is really cool stuff to put out, and I won't feel embarrassed about it or whatever it is. Ironically, like you said before, coming back into the whole money thing, is we're in an age where people aren't afraid to realistically destroy themselves for money, are they? You know, and the reputations and all these things that I feel like you come back to morals and ethics and stuff like that, you know. I don't know if it's right or wrong, you know. It's just, this is a strange thing actually. There's another thing I thought about. It's like, you know, in the film The Matrix, when they free Neo and he's got the plugs and he's got a bald head and all the rest of it, and they plug theory somewhere, which I don't know, but I think it's the same thing, isn't it? From an identity point of how you see yourself. Yeah,
this is the mask that I put on.
Essentially that, or just, I think another thing is like, you know, let's say for example you have an image of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like you know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go after weight, but you look after yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You're an active guy, you're in the gym X amount of times a week. Everything you do is built around being fit and healthy these days, right?
Yeah.
When I first knew you, you wasn't doing that because your whole life was in this place, getting this place off the ground, right? You probably weighed 4 or 5 stone more than you do now.
Probably, yeah.
I would imagine, I'm answering the question for you, but I would imagine the image of Tim in your mind, because you were always a fit guy before that, you're a fit guy now, that little 2-3 year stint between, you probably didn't feel like yourself when you was at that size, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Because you've got a perception of who you are up here.
Yeah.
And then who you are as a person, there's a deficit between that, isn't there? You know? So it makes you feel uncomfortable or unconfident and all the rest of these things, you know?
Which you end up like over embellishing. Yeah.
You feel the void, don't you?
Yeah, fill the void.
And I mean, it must be bonkers. Like, I don't know, but I see it all the time. Is especially in the gaming space, streamers, and again, they're doing the same thing. Is they're taking who they are, whatever, and they're putting themselves out there. They create these characters. You know, they do these things, where they crank up the dial and go up to it. But then the amount of times you see someone tweet and go, I have to step away for a little bit because I'm overwhelmed being that character, you know, and they go, whew. The interesting thing is they come back to it and they go, no.
Yeah, like an addiction.
I've reset now, I'm back. And I go, when you get to that place, surely you've got to ask yourself the questions of going, is this good for me as an individual?
As a human being.
Yeah. But I think what they're doing is they're torturing themselves for that success, aren't they?
Yeah.
What they want, what they think they want.
Mad that, innit? Money, fame, power. Without a moral compass, you're fucked. Yeah.
Well, I just don't think you know what you're doing, do you?
You're doing it for what? What is fame, money, and power? What is that? What is? It's nothing good comes from it.
The thing is, and this is again, it's societal, isn't it, by nature? But if we was to like go out on the street now and find 100 random people on the road and go, what's success look like to you? I guarantee the top 3 answers would be high paying job.
Yeah. Big house,
fancy car.
Yeah.
Or something along the lines of millionaire status, money in the bank, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because that's the general perception of success again, we're guided by society or what we're fed, you know. But it comes down to the questioning, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like, you say that, don't you? And it's like, success looks like, really what you're saying is, success looks like to me that when people look at me, they think I've done a fucking good job and I'm living the best life.
Yeah,
that's literally what you're saying, aren't you?
Well, yeah.
What other people think of you.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, I used to get this all the time. Oh, you'd be in, you'll see it. Someone comes to you and go, I've got a new job, right? What's the first question that comes out the mouth after it? Oh, mate, are you getting paid more?
Yeah.
And it's like, right, okay. I've seen people, I know people, who will job up every 6, 12, 18 months because they fucking hate it. It gets to 6 o'clock on a Sunday night and their heads in their hands, sick with anxiety, I fucking hate that place and I've got to go back there. I was the same, I used to do it, you know, when I went to other places. And like, is it worth it? You know, for the money or whatever it is. And like I say, don't get me wrong, money's a necessity. It's a tool. We need it, you know, to live. But it comes down to balance. Everything we talked about comes back around to balance, doesn't it? I remember this was the one thing that's always stuck with me is what my dad said to me is when I was coming to choose what I wanted to do as a career, and I was like 16 or whatever. I think I was going to college and deciding what I wanted to do further education wise, and he said, either do something you're not particularly passionate about, but if you do that, get paid a shitload of money, so that in your free time you can buy more free time, or you can go and just do, like, enjoy yourself in the free time, or do something that you're passionate about, you love doing, but you're not really. But as long as you can pay the bills and, you know, you can still live the life you want to live, you know, don't worry too much about that. Which one did I choose?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Obviously the one that I hate, I get paid a shitload of money for. No, that's not the case.
And I remember, I think one of the biggest sort of cathartic times in my life, like thinking about this now and just sort of reflecting on it, was that when I kind of sort of like first started going freelance, I was working on some like big brands and shit. And I remember telling people, I'm fucking working for United today, I'm doing stuff on United. And then I'm like, fucking hell, people think I'm cool as fuck. Like, nothing. Just like, fucking maybe 30 seconds, that's meant that. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? What am I doing? It's not even fulfilling me. It's just a thing for me to say, so I look good in your eyes. I'm like, I think I might stop doing that now and figure something else out, because that's not right. So I need to question and challenge that way of thinking, because it's bonkers.
It's mad, isn't it? It's like, you know, you do have those moments where it is impressive, you know. If someone walked through here now and went to Manchester United on the phone, we'd be like, oh, you know. But would the whip be fulfilling?
Yeah. No.
You know.
No.
Or potentially it could be, you know. Sometimes you do get that unicorn, don't you? Where you can get paid a shitload of money and
they want to change the values and change the culture within the business, and you're like, right, all right, we're on board with that.
But ultimately, you know, the projects that you get that kickback off, you know, is they're at a lower level, aren't they?
Yeah.
But
I think the whole point of the conversation is this identity crisis that's going on. You know, what Will said before is, I do believe it's got to be the parents.
That, I think with adolescence, at that age, obviously, you know, I'm 27 and I'm still on social media, and people my age can get, you know, brainwashed by this stuff, or the people that they were referring to. You know what? It's so difficult though, because like realistically, I grew up without it as well, in a sense. You know, I was probably midway through secondary school when people started going on Instagram. So I was about his age without social media. So that, you know, that probably would be the pair. It's difficult, isn't it? Because, like, you know, it's such a modern day now, you know, like kids don't have phones with access to Instagram and all that. You know, when I was a kid, going into secondary school, you know, we had flip phones and what have you. So it's a tough one to think about in like from our age group or with our the way we grew up, I guess.
I definitely know it would have had a really negative impact on my life if I had it. I think I was very successful. I always knew, like I said before, there's a moral compass within me, and I knew I would have come back around. But for a certain amount of time, it would have fucked me up. I know it would. I would have been looking at the people, kind of looking at my life, thinking I'm not good enough. I've not got enough. I know it's within me to do it, but I can't have it right now. That's always been my problem. I can't have it now, and I can't slow down. I have now. I'm like, look, trust the process, the journey, and get that. But at that age in my life, I'm like, I want that, and I need it now. And if I've not got it, I've just terrorised myself. And I think that really what happens with people. They're not up for the adversity. They're not up for the knockbacks and all that. They're, not willing to spend, like, we just said then, I spent 2-3 years not going gym really, fucking putting on loads of weight, just getting my head down here. I was up for that. I made it a conscious choice to do it. I knew that that's what needed to be done. Could have done it differently, maybe, but right at that time, the way it just happened. People aren't up for that.
Yeah.
They're not. They want it right now, and if they don't, they terrorise themselves, and they get angry, resentful, and then they lash out at people, and then it's someone else's fucking fault, and then I've got mental health problems.
Yeah. I think it's it's interesting to when you think about, and that's what you're trying to do, is try and undress really, is where that flick switches, I guess, in terms of the individual to the role models, and what they take from that, and how it assumes. I think it just comes to the journey of going through it and thinking about things, and you've got to undress it, haven't you?
Yeah.
I think too many people are looking for answers, like a definition in the world, but you still got to sit down and figure out how you need to apply that to do it your way or the way that works for you. Do you know what I mean? Because what works for me doesn't work for you. Yeah. What works for you doesn't work for him. Still require that work. People don't want to do the work there. It's not get rich quick scheme, is there, realistically?
No, I want people to listen. Don't think you just consume social media. It's cool, but I want to show you another way. And that's really why we do our social media, to show people another way, that it doesn't have to be like that. That's what I'm saying, going into like schools and stuff and just saying, look, I know you think like this at the minute, right? But I'm going to show you another way to think. What do you think? It's like, oh, can you think like that as well? I don't have to be resentful. I don't have to be angry at life.
Yeah. I think the difficulty is having the, I guess, the confidence or the courage to stand apart, because that's a big part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, massive, mate, isn't it? Thinking about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that was always the thing, it's like anything, there's the nail that sticks out, it gets hammered, and especially when you're at a school level or a young level, it's like, how many times, because I did it, where you wouldn't necessarily agree with something that's going on in a situation, but it's just easier just to not say anything, duck your head and just go, oh, yeah, whatever, and just go with the flow with it. I certainly did that, going back to it, because you pick your battles, don't you?
Yeah.
And I just don't know if people are just picking less battles these days.
Yeah.
Going too much with the flow.
Yeah, that's takes a lot of courage, doesn't it, this day and age, to sort of like stand up for yourself and no, I don't want to do that, I want to do this. This is who I am. I don't want to follow that. Yeah.
The thing is as well, it's like, depending on your outlook, it's positive or negative as well, isn't it? Because my mate was talking to me about this story. So we went on this stag do in Portugal, Yeah, Lisbon it was, about a year or so ago. And we'd been out all day and we ended up in this bar. It's like 2 a.m. or something. So I'd already had enough to drink. And I would be like, 32 something, maybe 33, I can't remember. And I go to my mate, it was his round. I said, I'm going to Italy. I said, get us whatever. And it was one of them, free shot if you come in and all the rest of it. And I said to him specifically, I was like, don't get me tequila, it's the only thing I don't want. So I go, and I don't know if you've done it to be funny or you just misheard me or whatever. And I come back and there's a shot of tequila and I smelt it and I was like, I'm not drinking that. And the bar lady was like, no, you must drink. And she's got like a buddy whistle, she's banging it. Everybody in the bar's like, drink, 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 drink. Even the people on the street outside were, drink, 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 drink. And I was stood there and I was like, I don't care how long you stand in front of me, I'm not going to drink it. Because I'd made the decision that I wasn't going to do it.
Powerful that, mate, you know.
But, again, this is the thing, is I think initially it's a positive thing. But then I probably think it, again, depending on your perspective of it, you look at it, maybe then I went into arrogance of going...
So you've been sort of a rebel for rebel's sake?
No, well, I wasn't at first.
You've been rebellious for?
No, I was... When I think I genuinely didn't want to do it, because I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I knew it would have made me feel ill and at the time, and I didn't want to ruin the night. That was the reasons, that was my thought process of going, if I do that, I don't want to kill the vibe. I'm in a good place now. Give me anything else, give me vodka, give me sambuca, whatever it is. I can't be doing with tequila because I didn't want to ruin the night for myself and for everyone else and for my mate who was there for the stag do was. So I made the decision from a positive place. Yeah. But then I don't know if arrogance afterwards was like, I got to a thing that was like, because I've made that decision, I was like, I'm going to stick to this now, no matter what you do. I'm like, you come and change my thing, you force me to change it and I won't move. And I didn't move in it, and ultimately they're like, boo, and I was like, doesn't matter. Even my mate comes to me and says, that's so impressive.
Yeah, it is.
It's like so impressive that like you could just stand there and do that. And I was laughed about it, but I was like, I guess it's what it is, you know. I said I just was adamant that I didn't do it. But I think even in that scenario that I described to you there, overall you look at it and you probably think, oh wow, it's really good.
Yeah, it is, mate.
But you probably grade it and you go, well, if I was to look at it positively overall, like, you know, if I could split into positive, negative, what percentage do we assign to positive and what do we assign to negative, you know? From your thing, you might go 100% positive, you did the right thing. Whereas I'm looking between the lines going, initially, yeah, 100%. And I think overall I would grade myself a positive in that interaction. But I do think there was a bit of negativity in there. But you come back to the balance thing we talked about before. And I think you can have a bit of negativity in there. Because all of us have a bit of negativity somewhere. It's finding the balance.
Yeah.
The cocktail. But the only way you can do that is by thinking about it. You know?
How do these kids then, 12, 13-year-old, do that, mate? How do you say no to something like that? Because it's like, there's nothing good that's going to come out of that. Apart from, well, no, everything good's going to come from it. I don't know what I'm saying that. It's just, nobody's going to think it. Everyone's going to be like, oh, these fucking...
Well, I told you these stories before, like, you know, I wasn't a bad kid by any means, you know, but then I was having this conversation with somebody else at the weekend, and I was like, but some of the stuff that I did, and I guess this is probably every parent or soon-to-be parent's outlook is like, you know, I won't let my kid do the things I did, you know. But the world moves, so then maybe that's just what it is, the times move on, and, you know, it's a different place. Obviously, 20 years is a long time, is it? 30 years is a long time, but I've always, when I was younger, you know, like, the lads that I knocked about with, you know, the people they were smoking, they were taking drugs.
Yeah, it's me, that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and doing all this stuff. And whether I'm just fucking boring, do you know? But I always look at it. Smoking, I touch wood, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. Never. My mum and dad both smoke. My aunties, uncles, everybody, I've always been around it, you know. But for me, and I've had this memory or this thought on it as long as I can remember in my entire life, and just thinking it stinks. Sorry to fire shots at people who smoke here. You know, I'm not judging, but this is my opinion. It stinks. It's not good for you. Why the fuck would I do it? You know, it costs you money. You know, and I was like, I don't see any positives in it. So why would I do it? So that
Because you look cool, guys.
But yeah, but I mean, do you?
I thought I did. I
Yeah,
used to look
but-
at myself in the mirror like that.
Again, that's the thing. But then this is what I try and pull it
But
back
at the
to.
minute, that's where my identity was at that time. And looking cool.
I mean, everyone wants to look cool, don't they? You know, I don't think anyone doesn't want to look uncool. I think some people genuinely not asked.
Yeah.
But I was like, there's a reason I'm wearing this jacket today because I think it looks cool. There's a reason that I'm wearing this Japan top underneath because I think it looks cool. You know, but that's my values of cool, isn't it? It's what I believe to be cool. You know, other people look at that and go, "Oh, I won't wear that." You know, just in that sense, for me, smoking is something that's never been cool. Just because somebody else tells me it's cool. This is what I mean. You need the autonomy, don't you? I go, yeah, cool. I appreciate why. Well, you tell me then what was cool about it. The rebelliousness of it, the fact you shouldn't have been doing it.
Like James Dean, fucking, you know, all them lot. I'm just thinking, it's fucking, this is like the impossible cool. Paul Newman, just like fucking.
But the funny thing is,
sick
though,
as
is
fuck.
like, you know, it wasn't rebellious for James B. Dean to be doing it, really, was it?
Yeah, no.
Because everyone was doing it. So essentially, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And at the time, you probably not processed that and gone through that thought process, had you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was under the school fucking bike shack at the time, thinking I was cool, and looking back at it under the bike shack, we're fucking smoking. It's not cool, that. You know.
But everyone else used to do it, and I'd be stood there with the people that are doing it. I'm just like, and it get offered to me all the time. I'm like, no, it's like I don't want to do it. Like, just wasn't scared of it, you know. Just was never cool for me. I just remember when my nan, a lovely woman, you know, but she used to smoke this, and you'd go in. I used to love spending time with her. Fantastic cook, you know, looked after me like a mother basically. Every time you walked out, you stunk of fags. I was like, oh, you know, it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's again, but that's just that's one example that I'm just like super there. But yeah, I think
saying saying no to things that don't feel right to you is like really important. Really important. Like you just like people are just going along with, you know, going along with the crowd. Like I said, the tequila, probably me, I would have just got to a point and just go, I can't be fucking arsed, I'm just going to take it. You know, where really, deep down, I don't fucking want it. And it's like, that wouldn't happen now, like, but back in the day, I would have been there, me, like, just fucking going along with the crowd. Just like, this is fucking cool, fucking got off my box.
But off your own detriment, though. I think if you thought, you know,
I knew, though, my moral compass always knew. I might not have voiced it, but internally I knew, and I wasn't being true to myself. My true character was going, I don't really want to do this, but the thing is, I don't know any other way.
Yeah, see, I think...
And me saying no would have got so much grief, and the people around me would have just gone in at me.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying to you, essentially, is the thing that I used to have. You know, you've always had them moments where, like, even now someone will say something, you know, and it's always, again, I feel like cranked up to 11 a little bit when you're kids, because realistically they're still learning what's right and what's wrong. But, you know, people say stuff now that I don't agree with, and I'm like, but you pick your battles, like I said before, you know, and you go, is it worth saying anything? And you've got that internal struggle, haven't you, of them going, well, you know, not really. But you've got to make that call as an individual, go, when's enough's enough, you know, and go. Because I've had it in places before where, you know, people are, especially when you're a kid, like people are getting bullied, you know, maybe getting hit or general being mean, you know, they're being prodded, all the rest of it. And you can sort of laugh it off at first, you know, and then I've got to points of going, right, fuck off now, like it's too much, you know, leave him alone, like. And it's difficult to do that because then obviously you put yourself in the firing line, don't you? And listen, I won't doing it all the time, but you pick your battles with it, don't you? All the time you probably look at it and go, oh well, is it worth taking a beating for this person? Nah, probably not. Yeah. You know.
Well, let's wrap it up with this now, mate. So I'll ask you a question now. So Littleton comes into the fray now, comes of age, 11, 12, starts getting on social media and stuff like that. What is going to be your advice to give?
Oh, again, in this moment, I'm not got a fucking clue. I think it's stuff you probably learn on the job, you know, a lot of the time that... I think you just got to... you've got to just do what you think's right at the end of the day, you know. And I feel like that's going to be one of the ways that I approach it, in terms of the reasoning behind the things that you say. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it's easy, isn't it, to go... I think we had discussions today on a professional level where you'll go, this is what we need to do. And we go, cool, and we can do it. But if you don't explain to me why, then I don't learn why that's the case, and I can't apply that going forward, you know what I mean? So I think it's a very important thing is to explain behind it. You don't just discipline or tell the kid off or reward the kid on the other side of it. You explain why you're receiving that praise, why you're getting those feelings, so you can process that, I guess, you know, and understand it. Because that's the main thing, isn't it? I think it's understanding it.
Yeah.
That's probably what these people are missing. The guy in the thing doesn't understand the way he's feeling, you know, or or his understanding of it is, I shouldn't be feeling this way, or I should have this, I should not have that. Do you know? I think that's the difference. But you've got to go through that journey, haven't you? I think that's what a lot of people probably don't do, is they don't go through the motions to understand what it is.
That's it, everybody. Thank you for listening to Gaz, Will and Tim. This has been the Marneverse. Goodbye.